TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week, Tea Time Wagers with Brady Kannon. About 2.5, 3 hours from sunny Cape Cod right now. The Travelers Championship in Connecticut, a signature event without RORY. We'll get to RORY with Brady, but big boys, big time event this week, coming off of the U.S. Open, where I could spend just an hour talking to Brady about this, about Sunday, how the social media portrayed it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But first, a shout out to our proud sponsor and partnership, WagerWire. If you have not downloaded the app, please head on over to Google Play, wherever you download the apps. It's free. And then after that, we'll take over. If you want to join the WagerWire team, send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. Travis, Zach, the rest of that team and community will take good care of you, I promise. So without further ado, the true star of this show, the one and only Mr. Brady Kannon.
Mr. Dawson, how are you, my friend? Happy Father's Day. I think we should probably get that out of the way. I may have texted you at some point last Sunday, but happy Father's Day indeed, as we enjoy this this mid-June beautiful time of year in the golf world, and a little summer vacation here and there. A good time to be a golf bettor and a golf fan for sure.
100%. I got my Jack Nicklaus golf shirt for one of my Father's Day's gifts, so I figured it'd be a great time to break it out, and super excited. My dad, as you know, his favorite golfer, Jack Nicklaus, as he would say, and then Tiger Woods came on, and that was his prodigal son. Okay, so I'm supposed to be full of PMV, and I'm supposed to be super stoked. ECSI VIPs, one of our pre-flops, we had Bryson DeChambeau at 20-1. We officially are 3 for 3 in the majors this year.
Good for you.
Hats off to the eyes with our PGA team. We had Russell Henley. We had Tony Finau. We had Cantlay at 67-1. All pre-flop. Saturday, I was like, all right, it's time. Anyone that wants some RORY exposure, let's get in at 4-1. You know, I'm the number one fan of RORY. We get to Sunday. Actually, I'm going to stop right there. Take us to Saturday, moving day, and then take us to leading up to Sunday. What were your eyes seeing? What were your thoughts after the cut, and then what after what you saw on moving day?
Well, you know what? The U.S. Open for me was a lot of myself kicking myself, because as you know, we came on the show last week and we were heavily invested in Scotty. And maybe the worst thing that ever happened to Scheffler was winning the Memorial. It elevated his status. You know, I bought in. I drank the Kool-Aid. And let's not jump off the Scotty train. This guy's not going anywhere anytime soon. He's still the greatest player in the world, I firmly believe. And I thought, I mean, obviously the current form was there. He'd won 5 tournaments in his last 8 starts. I thought this particular golf course, Pinehurst, was perfect for him. Mm-hmm. And he just couldn't find his putter all week. He only made 4 birdies all week. He never shot one of 4 rounds under par, and he made the cut right on the numbers. Pretty lucky to make the cut. But all the guys we backed him up with, Colin Morikawa, Ludwig Åberg, and Tommy Fleetwood, they all finished top 20 and cashed those tickets for us. Mm-hmm. But I'm kicking myself because I knew Finau was a good play. I knew DeChambeau was a good play. Cantlay, no, I wasn't on Cantlay. I'm not going to claim that. But I had a feeling about Tom Kim, who also finished top 20. Hideki, I had a feeling about it. So there were some guys that really populated that leaderboard that I said, boy, if I wasn't so heavily invested in Scheffler, I probably could have made for a better week for myself. But still, it was okay. Yeah, I lost money because I was heavy on Scotty, but still, did okay with the top 20 finishes on some other guys we were on. It was weird. Scotty, the first round wasn't necessarily a surprise, but I thought he'd immediately bounce back, and he never did. Oberg was fantastic. And, a lot of people see how he kind of drifted on moving day and then again on Sunday. But on Saturday, he really only had one bad hole. He made a triple bogey, and that was basically it. That kind of ended his tournament. He had one bad hole on Saturday, and that was pretty much it. Rory, he was kind of just lurking and then got really, obviously led on Thursday. And then he kind of drifted a little bit, and then and the putter cooled off. And I said this on Sports Grid going into Sunday. I said, Rory's scary. I said, I've kind of talked myself into Rory because Bryson had been going along so well, swimmingly, that I said, you know what? I don't know if this is going to hold up for a fourth straight day. And it didn't. What do you shoot? 2 over par, I believe, in the final round, or 1 over, I guess.
I think 1 over.
Yeah, 1 over and hit, half the fairways all day, only hit half the fairways all week. So I thought I'm like, you know what, Rory, I think is kind of primed to grab this because I can see him kind of being on the uptick where Bryson could be headed for a slip up. And it's pretty much exactly what happened, but then we don't expect Rory to miss, 3-foot putts 2 out of the last 3 holes. Brutal. And the 18th hole, let's admit, that was an extremely difficult putt. That thing slid about 6 inches and was super fast. He never, ever should have missed the one at 16. And he at the very least should have gone to a playoff. Let's give Bryson credit for the incredible bunker shot on 8 from 55 yards to hit it to 3 feet. That ought to earn you a championship right there. I still do feel that Rory lost it a little bit more than Bryson won it. Bryson wasn't anything necessarily special other than that big time shot on 18 on Sunday. Rory was very special on Sunday until he kind of crashed on the last 3 holes. Oberg, I don't want to say this guy, certainly don't use the choke word with him. He's 24 years old and he's going to be around a long time. What has he been on tour? 1 year, and he's already ranked 6th in the world, and he's finished 12th at one of the most difficult U.S. Opens we've seen in a while. He's finished runner-up at the Masters. This guy's going to be just fine. Colin Morikawa continues to be good. Tommy Fleetwood continuing to show good form. Corey Connors with 2 top 10 finishes in his last 3 starts. So, I think there's a lot to really dissect from what we saw at this U.S. Open and kind of look at the big picture. Sepp Straka is still playing well. Sepp Straka has become a sexy pick in the majors. Well, what about Sepp Straka for the Travelers Championship when, the spotlight's dimmed a little bit and not everybody in the world's trying to come up with that sharp pick, So, yeah, I think there's a lot of things that you can kind of look at and glean and take good, strong handicapping information from what happened at Pinehurst. But ultimately, I was heartbroken for Rory, and I'm not a fan of Bryson. I'll come right out and say it. I think the guy has turned his character around quite a bit. I think he's grown up. We don't see the temper tantrums, and we don't necessarily the petty fights with Brooks Koepka, but still, I just really don't like the guy's demeanor. I feel he's socially awkward, the way he addresses the crowd. And, and I thought Rory had the ultimate class, which he typically always does, and said, hats off to DeChambeau. He represents everything that the world of golf needs right now. And I think what he meant by that is his enthusiasm. And I'm okay to get on board with that. Bryson just rubs me the wrong way, and I think he does a lot of people. But I think Rory's point that his enthusiasm for the game and kind of that whole live rock and roll and let's have fun with it. That's part of what Bryson brings. And that's not necessarily a bad thing to bring to the game of golf.
And we had Kim. I left Matsuyama on the desk. We talked about it last week on the show. Inform Major. I thought he had the great mindset. I thought everything was there. And as you and I and everyone else here knows, you can't play them all. You got to leave some of these guys on the desk.
Yep.
Kim was a big long shot as well, starting to round into form. And amazingly, Thursday, Xander hit 6 out of 18 fairways, and yet was and he was lurking after Friday. So I'm looking at Xander. I'm on DraftKings Live Saturday, and Oberg was down to as low as plus 190. And DraftKings was like basically telling us, he's the guy. And the reason I asked you to ask you what your thoughts were, because no one brings up the fact that Bryson started Sunday with a 3-shot lead. No one brings that up. Bryson had a 3-shot lead. Bryson couldn't hit it on the fairway if you let him hit it from the ladies' tee on Sunday. And miraculously, whether it was to the left or to the right, he had magical beans. He always had a shot. It wasn't stuck underneath any of that crap where he had to punch out. In my write-up Wednesday, I says, we all know he has the creativity for this course. My question to all is, does he have the patience for 72 holes on this course? And it reminded me of Phil. I think it was the U.S. Open on 18. He could have hit a 5-iron 3 times and won it, but the ego. And the same thing with DeChambeau on Sunday. Hey, Bryson, let's put the driver in the bag here. He can rip a 5-iron 235, 250 straight down the middle. So I was disappointed, with people running out there using the C word on Rory. Of course, the stat.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, Bryson was as bad as Rory, really. Bryson could have played like Jim Furyk or Steve Stricker and won this thing going away, but he doesn't know how to play that way. And he's bombing the driver and he's hooking it, left of Egypt. And it's like, again, I'm not a fan of the guy, so it's frustrating to see him win like that, and even more frustrating to see Rory kind of let it slip away.
Shout out to Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Thank you as always. Mr. Stuart Barton, good friend, says, listen to you guys from the office. DeChambeau is the Happy Gilmore of the PGA now.
That's a good way to put it.
Sound advice from you two. Thank you, Stu. I got my cardio in early today. I haven't seen you at your spot at the beach, so hoping to catch you and all your friends sooner than later. Tell the kitchen, Mr. Kroll, I said hello as well. And lastly, and then we'll move on. Bryson came onto the PGA scene by storm, by hitting the ball a million miles, John Daly-esque, let's say. Lost his luster. He is quirky. He's the mad scientist. And he could see him losing his luster, as you said, blow-ups, the whole 9 yards. So he took the bag of money and he ran to live. And now you saw flashes at the Masters. You shoot 19 under at the PGA, and he's at the driving range, hitting the ball 400, expecting Xander on a par 5 to blow it, which we knew wasn't going to happen. And my point is, now he's like the hero, and Rory's turned to the villain. And as you said, and I said, I hate to see where, 496 straight putts leading up to 16. Rory 3 feet and in had made, and to lose the way he did. Bryson, 20-1 pre-flop, God bless us. But Bryson didn't win the tournament.
Yeah,
he did.
I agree. I agree. I like I said, I think Rory lost it more than Bryson won it.
Exactly. Travelers Championship, signature event on Monday. Rory puts out a tweet congratulating Bryson and thanking everyone, saying he wants to take a couple of weeks off to reflect. So signature event, no Rory, but the big boys are there. Scheffler is plus like 360 on DraftKings, Xander plus 750, and then the rest of the Morikawa is Olberg, et cetera, et cetera. So thoughts of Connecticut, thoughts of the Travelers, defending champ Keegan Bradley. What's your view, your evaluation in this tournament starting tomorrow?
Well, you know what, Jeff? I actually don't think the skill set that best suits TPC River Highlands is all that different from Pinehurst last week. I think it's about total driving or strokes gained off the tee. I think it's about strokes gained approach. I think it's about scrambling, and I think it's about putting. And, I kind of, when you're at a major championship, you need to do everything well. Now, this is a little bit different. It's not a major. I think you can get away with tremendous work off the tee, great ball striking, and a hot putter. And, that's a lot of times that'll carry you a long way at any golf tournament, but you know how it is when you're at a major. Anything that you're presented with, you better be able to execute it as at a championship level. We've seen bombers win at this course, like Bubba Watson and Dustin Johnson. We've seen shorter hitters win here and have success, like Jim Furyk and Harris English. I kind of went with more of the shorter, accurate hitter this week. I want to find fairways. I want to have a great ball striker. I want to find a hot putter. Now, we've had 2 tournaments in a row. The U.S. Open was won at 6 under par. The Memorial was won at 8 under par. The last 5 editions of the Travelers Championship have been won on average by better than 18 under par. So you're going to have to make some birdies this week. So I went with guys that hit it straight, ball strikers, make some birdies, and can putt and scramble, which is a little bit similar to where we were last week. It's just kind of on a bigger, longer course. So you probably needed a little bit more distance. And obviously it's a major championship. It's a Pete Dye design. I think you have a lot of ties to kind of those shorter Dye type TPC tracks, Sedgefield where they play the Wyndham, East Lake where they play the Tour Championship, TPC Southwind, where they play the FedEx St. Jude, TPC Sawgrass, another Dye design. I think those are some of the core. TPC John Deere, or TPC Deer Run rather, I think is a very good comparable track. So, again, this is less than 6,900 yards, this TPC River Highlands. And that's why I think some of these guys, these bombers like DJ and Bubba Watson, have been able to cut some corners and overpower the course a little bit. But I think over the long haul, it's a guy who is a really good ball striker and can just find fairways no matter how he goes about doing it, and then gets hot and makes some birdies with the putter and that type of thing. So that's the direction I went. It's always been a fun tournament, always a lot of drama here. Out of the last 13 editions of the Travelers Championship, 5 have been decided by playoff. And that's 4-1, by the way, if you want to bet that there will be a playoff this week. Probably a pretty good chance that we find ourselves there again. Only 71 players in the field, as you mentioned, a signature event. So, yeah, I think we're headed for some drama for certain again this week. And like I alluded to earlier, let's not give up on Scotty Scheffler just yet. He finished 3rd here last year. This guy is not done at all. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least if he came out and won this week when the general public has given up on him. Last week, everybody and their mother, including me, was on Scotty. He fell hard, and now everybody's backed off, and they're on Oberg, and they're on Hideki, and they're on, all these guys. I mean, recency biased, right? Recreational bettors bet on what they saw last, and so they want no part of Scotty. Yeah, watch what this guy does this week. Wouldn't surprise me.
I'm so glad you brought that up, and we made it clear on our alert on Wednesday for the guys that are just taking one swing. If you wanted to put 2 or 3 units and that's all you set aside on Scotty Scheffler, I didn't say no to that. Absolutely, it was the horses for courses. Yeah. He was definitely set up. I was watching him, I think, early on Thursday, and everything to the left on his drives, and he's just shaking his head. And in golf, when you're off by just this much, and it affects the whole game. And as you said, everyone had him last week. No one wants a part of him this week, and this is the week he probably goes box to wire.
Well, think about it, Jeff, too. He was 3-1 last week in a field of 156 players. This week, he's 4-1 in a field more than half the size. Interesting.
And one of our spreadsheets and simulators has him lapping the field with a 13.8% chance of winning this tournament. And the second guy was at 7%, and that was Rory McIlroy, who's not there. So where's that 7% going to go?
I didn't land on Scotty this week. Again, I joined the masses and did last week, and I joined the masses again this week in avoiding Scotty. But I've only bet on Scotty pre-tournament twice this entire season. Last week and once at the Phoenix Open, when I also did not hit him, but he was right there until the bitter end. He was a favorite with about 4 or 5 holes left to play. Ultimately did not get there, but you've known me long enough doing this show for a couple of seasons now. It's not often I land on the very shortest price guy in the field. And I have a couple of times when I felt the time was right. I did not necessarily feel that vibe this week. Scotty, like I say, absolutely could come out and become Scotty again and win for the 6th time in 10 events. And nobody would really be that surprised. I kind of think maybe there'll be a lingering effect, at least for a round or two. I just didn't feel right about him this week. And so I took some stabs at some other guys in the 30 to 40 to 1 range that I think could really go well. But no, I mean, last week does not have me bailing on Scotty in the least.
Before we get to your outrights, Dylan Goldberg, big fan of Hovland. A question, tough, or it's opening round, right? Was he like +8 on Thursday, Victor? Something like that.
Yeah, right.
You hearing anything? That course is going to do that to you. I get that part. Between the ears, or just a bad opening round?
So hard to have a correct answer on that. I just don't know if we know. He worked so hard, in his practice rounds and everything last week at Pinehurst. He was trying 1,000 different types of chips from 1,000 different types of areas. And that was kind of a red flag. It's like, if you're working that hard on your game right now to try and figure this out, and we know chipping has always been Victor Hovland's weakness, it's probably a bad sign if you're like that dedicated to try and fix this a couple days before this tournament starts. And then he comes out and he starts out okay. And then it was kind of like the Masters, pretty soon he has a bad hole and it snowballs. I know a guy that I respect tremendously in the industry that is on him again this week, was on him last week and is on him again this week. It's all about timing it, right? That there's so much of this about timing it, when the guy's going to flash, when the guy's going to pop. And I just don't know if I think it's harder to predict when that's going to happen for Victor than it is other guys who have shown some good form coming in. No matter what tournament it is, a major championship or whatever, I think you tend to want to land on a guy that has shown some decent form coming in. We know Victor has the potential. One day he's probably going to get back there. It's just hard to figure out what the right timing is on that.
Outrights this week for the Travelers. As always, the assumption is outrights in top 20s. You cashed 3 of them last week. I should say we cashed 3 of them. Thank you very much, sir. Your Christmas card will be coming. Trust me on that. So outrights in Connecticut for the Travelers.
Yeah, like I say, I avoided Scotty. I went a little further down the board, and I went with guys that, again, have some kind of similar skill sets to what I felt was needed last week at Pinehurst. And that was total driving, ball striking, and then work around the greens, either, scrambling or with the putter. And I started with Tommy Fleetwood, who's one of the most accurate drivers on tour, not an incredibly long hitter, but this is a short course. You don't have to be long here. Just hit it straight, hit the greens. And he's a brilliant putter. And, that's really the formula, I think, around here. And what I also like about Fleetwood is the fact that he's been in really good form as of late. 4 out of his last 5 starts have been top 21 finishes. And we remember he had that final round at the Canadian Open where I think he shot, or no, it was the next to final round on Saturday when he shot 64. He finished up the U.S. Open with a 68. I like guys that finish their tournament, especially on Sunday, on a high note, which Tommy has done. And I think that tends to carry over into the next week. We've seen a lot of guys over the years that go really low to finish that round, and they're kind of under the radar because they don't win. They just sneak into the top 10 or the top 20 like Tommy did. And then next week they put it together for 3 or 4 rounds. I think Tommy, and the other thing I love, he was a sharp pick, I felt, last week to win the U.S. Open. I was on him as well. And now I like that we've gone to kind of we throttle down the spotlight a little bit. Now, granted, it's a signature event, but it's not a major. So some of the eyeballs and the heat has been lessened a little bit here. And why am I still not on Tommy Fleetwood? He's another great fit for this golf course. Am I all of a sudden off of him because it's not a major, it's not a big event? No, he's perfect here. And maybe without all the pressure and attention, it's even better. So Tommy is on my card at 35-1, as well as a top 20 finish. And then I went to Corey Connors, and it's kind of a similar reasoning here. He finished top 10 at the U.S. Open, finished 9th at that difficult of a golf course. We know the ball striking. Over the last 24 rounds, he's 3rd in this field in strokes gained approach and 4th for strokes gained off the tee. Strokes gained off the tee is kind of a fancy way of, a modern day way of saying total driving. It doesn't necessarily mean you're long, but you're either long or accurate or both. And Corey Connors is a little bit of both, not especially long, but extremely accurate. One of the best ball strikers in the world. It's always about the putter for Connors, but I feel the form is so good right now. 2 top 10 finishes in his last 3 starts, including the U.S. Open. And this just feels like a tournament where he ought to be able to find the greens in regulation. And if he can hole a few putts, he's going to be there. Took him at 39-1. And then I went to Sepp Straka. I mentioned him earlier. He's another guy that's become this sexy pick in the majors, because he really flashed last year at the PGA Championship when he finished 6th. He was on the victorious Ryder Cup team for Europe. He won the John Deere Classic, by the way, which is one of our correlated courses, as I mentioned. Also finished runner-up to Will Zalatoris at TPC Southwind a couple years ago, another one of our correlated courses. Not the longest hitter in the world, but extremely accurate off the tee. Can get the putter going now and then. So it's a lot of these guys that made a lot of sense last week that now and they played very well, made the cut, what have you, had some success. And now everybody's like, oh boy, look at Oberg and Hodecki. And it's like, wait a minute, these guys didn't go away. I'm going to go back to the well with these guys. And now we've got them at, 40, 50-1, what have you, in an event that's half the size. And I think they still make a lot of sense. And then finally I went with Tom Kim, who, fell off a little bit on Sunday. I think he shot 76 at the U.S. Open on Sunday, but prior to that had 271s and a 69. He was right there and cruising along. And he's really been that guy for a couple of months now. I mean, he just seems like a machine to finish top 25. And he's always got that one round, it seems, during the 4 days where he shoots a 65 and gets himself into contention for a minute. And I think it's another perfect golf course for a guy like that, who's not incredibly long, but is incredibly accurate and can get hot. I think he's 8th in this field. The last 24 rounds, 8th in this field for birdies or better gained. He can light it up as far as birdies. So, he could be a perfect fit here. And, you never like to be on a guy that it seems like everybody's on, but I have seen a couple of people that I very much respect in the industry that like Tom Kim this week too. So just a 4-pack. I didn't want to extend myself too deep. 71 guys in the field. I'll stick with 4 top 20 and outright: Tommy Fleetwood, Corey Connors, Sepp Straka, and Tom Kim.
we talk about this religiously. Week before a major, week after a major. We are exactly 4 weeks from the final major and the British Open, or the Open, as we should say. Some players that were sizzling, and when I say sizzling, that played great. It's one thing to make the cut at the U.S. Open this year, but sometimes you make the cut. Francisco Molinari get a hole in one, make the cut, and then on Saturday you're like, why did I hit that hole in one? What am I doing here? But as you talked about, the Tom Kims of the world, the Fleetwoods, the Corey Connors that never gave up, they kept going. Your thoughts the week after the major? You talked about Scotty early. Hey, are we going to see, the real Scotty, or is it going to take a couple weeks, as he progresses to get ready for the Open? Some of the guys that you're on, I love where your eyes are. And I'm going to throw a name out at you here. I threw a lot here for you here. I think he shot the best round on Sunday, and that's Russ Henley. Your thoughts on Mr. Henley?
Yeah, no, I mean, Russell Henley is one of the better players in the world that some people don't know about. And I've actually been on Henley here at the Travelers before. Henley and I have a bad relationship. I've been on him maybe three or four times, literally, where he's had the lead on the back nine on Sunday and somehow managed to screw it up. And it's like every time I bet on Henley, I'm like, oh God, here we go again. I'm going to be, and I've had him at the Wyndham. I think the Travelers. Oh, I mean, all these, I mentioned Sedgefield as a correlated course. So, Henley makes a ton of sense. He's been a machine at Sedgefield. So, those shorter courses where driving accuracy and ball striking are at a premium. Absolutely. That's in play this week. I swear I've been on him before at this tournament. I think it was when Xander Schauffele won a couple years ago. And if I recall, Henley was absolutely right there with, 6 holes left to play, and I'm ready to cash my ticket, and it all goes up in flames. That's happened to me literally 3 or 4 times with Russell Henley. But no, this guy on this type of golf course, especially a U.S. Open, that grinder, plotter, where par is a great score. Russell Henley is a very good player in that type of situation. You talked about Scotty Scheffler and some of the other guys, like the guys that I do have on my card this week. I wonder if Scheffler can recover from that disappointment that quickly. I think that's part of it. Now, if he can, wouldn't surprise me at all. You think this guy's competitive? Absolutely. Probably the most competitive guy in the world of golf right now. He doesn't necessarily show it, and he comes off as a tremendously classy, chill guy, but deep down inside, he's probably Michael Jordan and Tom Brady. I think he's that competitive and can't wait to get back out here and turn around what left him disappointed last week. The other guys, now that I'm on, Fleetwood, Connors, Straka, they probably weren't in the thick of it enough to be exhausted or disappointed, but they had success, and they can't kind of keep that good form going. And we're still getting a pretty good price.
Amen to that. And for everyone watching standing room only, we can't thank you enough, but the show's not over. We got bonus golf here.
That's right.
Brady's going to take care of us on the Live this weekend, sir.
Yeah. We've hit 2 Live outrights in this shortened season. It was way back before the Masters, Live Miami. We hit Dean Burmester. And just last week, we hit the week before last, before the U.S. Open, Carlos Ortiz at Live Houston. So let's see if we can keep it rolling here. Jeff, when they only give me 54 players to choose from, I seem to do a lot better. I'm better when you shorten up the choices like that. So we're going to try a 4-pack on the Live circuit this week. Live Nashville, playing the Grove, a Greg Norman design. Greg Norman, of course, the CEO of Live Golf. And I went with Sergio Garcia, who's had an incredibly good year. He just finished 12th, by the way, at the U.S. Open. Another Norman design on the Live circuit is Mayakoba, which used to be a part of the PGA Tour. The World Golf Championships at Mayakoba, whatever, I can't remember exactly what they called it, but they played it back in February on the Live circuit down in the Cancun area, Riviera Maya. I've actually played the course before. I actually picked Russell Henley to win there. Russell Henley was good to me when he won there a few years ago at Mayakoba. And that kind of speaks to what I'm talking about. The course is designed, it's more pointed towards driving accuracy and ball striking. And Sergio Garcia, one of the best, always has been one of the best in driving the golf ball. And on the LIV circuit this year, he's top 5 in driving accuracy and top 5 in greens and regulation. And if you think about another course that's a Norman design that is a staple on the PGA Tour, that's TPC San Antonio, where they play the Valero Texas Open. That was co-authored in design by Sergio Garcia with Norman. So I wonder if Garcia kind of has some insight into how Norman wants to design courses and how he wants to set up shots. Because, by the way, at Mayakoba in February, Garcia finished second. So I'm going to, just kind of put 2 and 2 together here, playing real well, just finished 12th at the US Open, plays Norman courses well, drives it straight, and say Sergio Garcia might do well again this week. And I got him at 20-1. I also went with Louis Oosthuizen, who is one of the most accurate drivers of the golf ball on the LIV circuit. He is currently second on the LIV Tour in driving accuracy. He is second in scrambling, he is number 1 in scrambling, and he is number 2 in putting. He started off the season really hot and has kind of tailed off a little bit. And I feel like, it's that kind of what we talked about. People have forgotten about him. He hasn't gone away. He's still really good. Just had a couple of good finishes in a row. I think it was Adelaide in Australia and maybe Singapore, where he did well once again. So I'm going to try him at 20-1 as well. And then I went back to Dean Burmester, who I mentioned we won with at LIV Miami. He's at 25-1 and also finished third at Mayakoba back in February, the Norman design we referenced earlier. And he's probably, Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, Sergio, Louis, and Burmester. Those might be the 5 hottest players on the LIV circuit right now. So Burmester was a popular pick for the US Open because he's been playing so well on LIV. So I'm not going to ditch him here either. And then finally, I went with a long bomb. And this one's kind of interesting. Caleb Surratt, who's only 20 years old, at 100-1. And he caught my eye because he finished 13th at Mayakoba. Okay, so that tells me maybe he works for this type of golf course. Maybe he works for a Norman design. But then I also came to find out he went to the University of Tennessee. He's playing 2 hours away in Nashville. I have to believe he's familiar with this course. And you're talking 54 guys in the field, and you're going to give me triple digits at 100-1. I'll take a shot.
Well, I got a little extra bonus golf here, and my guys will enjoy it. Trust me on that one. As we're going to the window, I got good vibes this week with us here, Brady. Not just at the Travelers, at the LIV as well. I'm super stoked and excited. The trivia question of the day is, what's next week? Where are we heading?
Oh boy. I'm not even sure. Gosh, I am at a loss for words. We've been on such a great run of golf, and I can name all of them. We go from the Wells Fargo, a signature event, to the PGA Championship, to Colonial and Canada, classic, some of the oldest classic golf courses, events on the PGA Tour, and then you roll into the Memorial, then the US Open, and then the Travelers, another signature event. What happens next? It doesn't matter, Jeff.
I agree with you. Vacationing, if I remember correctly, and at this age, we forgot some stuff here. Going to be in Omaha this weekend?
Yes, sir. And I'm hoping my Florida Gators get there. They play a little later this evening against Texas A&M. If they beat the Aggies, they'll have to play again. If they lose, then they will be eliminated. And, either way, it works out for me pretty well. I have a ticket on A&M to win it all. And, of course, I'm a Gator backer. So, I hope either way, it should be fun. I can't wait. It'll be my first ever trip to the College World Series in Omaha. And we're really excited.
Matt and Q from the NCAA Insiders. You had Matt on the grid not too long ago. They were there last weekend, so it's kind of neat. We're seeing a lot of pictures from them, and then here you are going to be there this weekend. I'm jealous as hell, brother.
It's going to be fun, man. I can't wait. I'm a huge baseball fan, And I was telling my wife earlier today or yesterday that I've started to, I think, enjoy college baseball. I don't know if I want to say it more than the pros. I don't know. I'm close, man. I'm close. Postseason baseball is absolutely one of my favorite sports of all time. This college World Series stuff is really good.
The sound of the aluminum bats. We have the Cape League right down the road. I have 2 fields within 10-15 minutes. I've already been to 2 games out of 3 so far this year, but they use the wooden bats. The second largest summer league other than the Alaskan League. I heard the Alaskan League was still bigger than the Cape League, but so many kids have gone from here, obviously, to the majors. I got to give a shout out to Noah Frank. The Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit Rock City next week.
Okay. Yeah. Another Donald Ross design. So that's 2 Donald Ross designs in the last 3 weeks. Of course, he designed Pinehurst as well. And Ricky Fowler, your defending champion, I believe won in a playoff last year over Colin Morikawa and Adam Hadwin. Hadwin and Morikawa, both pretty hot golfers right now. So that'll be an interesting one.
Scroll has been going the whole time. Everyone here knows to go to Twitter at Las Vegas Golfer. They know you're on Sports Grid, but as we always close up shop here, want the verbiage from you, where they can find you on social media, where they can find your written work, and of course your schedule for the Sports Grid this week.
Yeah, Sports Grid coming up at 7:30 Eastern and then also 10:15 p.m. Eastern time this evening. If you go to my Twitter page there at Las Vegas Golfer, you can check out a couple of the articles, one for golf.com, the other for the PGA Tour. I think both will give you some insights as you try and develop your own handicap and think about putting together your own card. Maybe you take some of the advice that we've given, maybe you fade what we like, but I think one way or another, you're going to be able to glean something from those articles that you put into your own, portfolio going forward this week. And then, of course, right here with ECSI, the East Coast Sports Investors, on Wednesday at 5 p.m.
Always a pleasure. Shout out to Noah. Shout out to everyone watching and listening. In about 1/2 hour, Scotty will be here for the MLB tonight. To all you guys, thank you so much. It's NCAA and Live, and we'll see you soon.